Hi, everybody. Brian, you've just joined us. It's nice to see you. And hi there. You are new to my class, aren't you?
Thank you.
You're new to my class, Brian. Is that right?
Yes, first time. Yeah.
Excellent. What do you do professionally, Brian?
I working as a handyman. I do lots of jobs, construction jobs, maybe
Mm-hmm.
plastering, tiling, kitchens, cabinets. Or I think I can do the whole house.
Wow, excellent. So you're a pro and you already know all the technical aspects of your job. So it's good that you can talk about a lot of aspects. Now, I suppose
Yeah.
you want to learn English for work, right? Do you live in an English-speaking country?
Yes, I live in Australia now. I'm Venezuelan, but I expect to live here long time. And I need to to improve my English for that reason.
That's right. So you are in Australia indefinitely, as we say, indefinitely,
Yes.
which means you
Okay.
don't really know when you'll leave. And thank you, Brian. Anna, you've just joined us and welcome everybody. So I believe we can start by asking you a very simple question related to the grammar point we will be doing today. Ladies and gents, do you have a piece of paper? You need to answer two questions I'll be asking you. Please write down my answer. This is a writing section, and I believe it's important to listen and write before we speak. So, do you have a piece of paper or do you have a
Okay.
Word document handy? Good.
Okay.
Listen to
Let
my
me look.
first question.
Yeah.
Yes,
Let
yes,
me look at
please
that.
do that. Please do that. Because I, on occasion, will ask my students to take down notes for accuracy
Okay.
because I have seen that it helps. There are proven results, guys. I go by statistics. Right, here we go. My first question is please write the last place you'd been on holiday. Okay, write the last place you'd visited on holiday. So it must be, it's got to be a place that's away from where you originally are right now, abroad. Now, in the next sentence, write something,
So,
write a
excuse me.
couple of things.
Could
Sorry.
you repeat the
Yes, the
question,
first
please?
question.
Because
Yes, the first question was
uh
write down the name of a place you'd been to on holiday last. Just write down the name of the place that you'd been to on
okay.
holiday. Hmm? Now, you have to remember this holiday particularly well because I'll be asking you my following question based on that, okay?
Okay.
Give me 5 different actions, 5 different things that you did on holiday. Write that in one sentence. Do not write it in 5 different sentences. Construct one single sentence to answer that question. 5 different actions performed on that holiday. Okay. Okay. Now, it doesn't matter if you were on holiday, you know, for holiday or for work, for professional reasons. The most important thing is that we're using the right verbs in the right situations in today's lesson. So I'm now going to, thank you very much. I'm now going to ask all of you to give me the answers, and I am going to be muted. My microphone will be silent, and you guys will speak individually. I'll first start with our first participant today, Jasper. I would like you to give us your first answers. Imagine you were presenting this to me. This wasn't an interview. You're presenting your ideas. You have 1 minute of speaking. Jasper, good luck. Thank you very much. What was the last sentence, please? Oh, right. I see. Typical of men, typical of women, isn't it? Thank you. Thank you, Jesper. Thank you. Excellent. Cheers. Lovely sentence. And you answered them perfectly and grammatically well. Your enunciation is very good. Your sentence construction is also quite well structured. Okay, I'm very happy with your subject, verb, object, and with your use of verb forms. Thank you very much. Brian, let's go to you. You're next. Thank you. 1 minute.
Okay. Okay. My last holiday was in America. I went there because I have a daughter there with my ex-wife, and we want to going to visit her, and I have more family there, and the purpose was visit family and do shopping, maybe going to the theme park with my daughter, and take a holidays because it was our first year in Australia, and we want to, or we went, no, I don't know the one in the past, but my wife and me want to have a vacations.
Thank you very much, Brian. So you've given us 1 minute of speaking. Right, Brian, I'm very happy that you answered the question correctly. So yes, you did answer my question correctly. You did talk about the last holiday you had with your family, but we have a few questions about the verb tenses
from my
that you're
understanding,
using.
I
So
think
you
you
have
took
to
photo
improve
for
your use of the past,
Taurus
of the
嗰
past
個，即係
simple
我哋
and the
之前
present simple
蘭
and
桂
going
坊
to.
雲咸街
You
有
are
個
using going
bar，
to talk about the
咁你應該
past.
係幫我哋
You
影
are
咗嗰
using the
啲
present simple to talk about the past. And you have difficulty forming the past simple. So today
Okay.
we're going to talk about this in our grammar lesson. So very good. Thank you very much. Let's now go to Anna. Thank you.
My last holidays, I and my 7
All right,
friends
thank you.
traveled to Chamonix. It's near the Alps in France, near the highest Mount Mont Blanc. So we were snowboarding and swimming and dancing all the night. So I don't have more, I don't know, adjectives for what we are doing.
Right, the verbs, very good. Okay, so Anna, you gave us a short description of the last holiday you'd had or a holiday in the past. And you did answer my question correctly by telling me the activities that you were doing, but you should have told me about the activities that you did. So this is why we're doing this video lesson today on grammar. What's the difference between the past simple and the past continuous? Can we just use the past continuous in any sentence to replace the past simple? Can we use the past simple instead of the past continuous in a sentence? Or are there very strict rules that we need to know before we can follow them? The answer is there is a rule. It's very strict. They're very different. And English speakers do not use them interchangeably. There is a specific reason why we do that. And to illustrate my first point, I'm going to share an answer that you could and should have given. So the past simple is a verb tense, okay? We call them the verb tenses or the verb forms. If you're not sure about the language I'm using, please familiarize yourself with the terminology I will be using today, verb tenses and verb forms. The past simple is a verb tense or a verb form describing a single completed action in the past. This means it only happened once It did not happen again on a series of events, and it's not important to mention that this particular action was a continuous action and there was no duration. There's no need to explain what else was happening because there was only one single action. So this important word single is important to understand past simple, and the word completed action is also very important to understand why we use the past simple. It is not a series of events. So the question I asked you needed you to use the past simple only. I ate grapes when I was on holiday. We went to Greece a couple of months ago. I was with my family. So we went is the past simple for Brian, who had a previous question. Okay. So go, went. We went on holiday, or we went to Greece.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
eat is the present simple. So eat is not correct. We have to use the past. I ate, not I was eating, and not I eat, and not I had eaten, and not I am eating. It's ate, the past simple. It's one single completed action. It happened once and it never happened again. And you might say, but I was munching for quite a few minutes. Still not a completed action in grammar. This is the difference between the past simple and the past continuous form, guys. Let's have a look. And there are huge differences. The past continuous was a progressive action, which means, yes, it happened in the past, but it's not a single action. It happened at a particular point in time. Okay, so it's a specific time in the past that you need to give us more detail about. If you want to use the past continuous, give us more information. It had a second action interrupted is the most important thing. A lot of my students who use the past continuous instead of the past simple aren't sure why they're using it. They aren't sure which verb they could use and why, but you have to know that there are two actions in the same action when you're using the past continuous. It's not just one single event. Have a look at this and compare these three sentences to the sentence we used previously. Remember, the sentence we used before was, I ate grapes when I was on holiday. I was eating grapes when I was on holiday is not correct. I was eating grapes when she arrived is correct. What's the difference? When I was on holiday is not a specific time in the past that interrupted it. Okay. So in other words, they must be happening, okay, at the same time. One action must interrupt the other. They're happening simultaneously. How many verbs are there? 2. Because how many actions are there? 2. But being on holiday is not an action, it's a state. So that's different. And that's why we can't use the progressive. We have to use the past simple. But this is an action. This is not a state. When she arrived, I was eating grapes. That means that these two actions happen to happen at the same time simultaneously. One action did not happen before the other. They, as we say in English, coincided, if you understand coincide. Okay, so the past continuous also describes what we call a parallel action. Okay, what is a parallel action, Lisa? This is getting a bit too complex for my liking. Okay, a parallel action means I was writing while she was dictating. So you have to imagine a situation in the past at a particular point, not general point, but very specific time, where two actions happen to collide and happen at the same time. She was dictating at the same time as I was writing. Yes, you can use the past continuous into parts, but it's not very popular. We prefer to say I was eating grapes when she arrived. So we prefer to use the past simple form in one action and the past continuous form in another action. Also, these words when and while are very important in understanding that we have to use the past continuous here, not the past simple. While and when We're going to talk about that today in more detail because there are specific words that we use with specific verbs. Look at this. I traveled to Paris to attend a conference. 2. It was raining in Paris while I attended the conference. Please consider the difference between this sentence and this sentence and tell me what the difference is grammatically. And exactly, duration at a particular point, you say, you use the word during, okay, which is very important, but it happened at a specific time. It wasn't general, right? That's the reason. So it can't just be in duration because you might say everything is in duration, Lisa. My trip to the Bahamas is in duration. So I was visiting the Bahamas last year. No, nope. It's not possible. Absolutely zero, not possible. It is not correct because to travel is not a duration if it doesn't happen with something else. You must specify the other action that the first action is happening with. So 2 actions must be present for us to use duration. That is the most important thing that you will learn today. At a specific
I'm not so sure 之前 like 係點樣 charge 啊，但係我想
or
睇下會唔
specified
會要多啲相，因為
because
我
it tells
睇
you
到之
when.
前影嗰啲相其實
At
is like
8 o'clock
唔係好
when
夠咯
I
如果
attended the conference, you know, but it tells you when that action happened because not of the time, okay, and it's not 8 because at 8 o'clock I was eating. No, you have to specify 2 actions. That is the most important thing. Not at 8 o'clock I was doing this, or at 8:30 I was doing this. No, I was doing this while I did that. So past simple, the past simple must always be used in a sentence with the past continuous. Otherwise, if there is only one verb, only use the simple past. Today we're going to learn how to use the past simple and the past continuous in context correctly. So you will learn the rules and you can never forget them if you learn these rules. Let's do this. So when do we use the past simple? What can the past simple be useful for? Let's discuss. Well, first of all, here are the first rules. There are many rules and you're going to have to remember all these rules today. So ladies and gentlemen, are you ready to read? And don't forget to ask me if you don't understand or want me to repeat. Tell me, Lisa, could you please repeat that? We use the past simple to say that an action happened in the past. Okay, just like the past past continuous. Not exactly. It's the basic form of the past tense. Okay, the past continuous is not the basic form. And with regular verbs, we always add ed. Okay, so you have to know the difference between regular verbs and irregular verbs. So go is not I goed, it's I went. Okay, not I been, I went. A lot of my students get them confused. Go, went, been. Completely different. I ate, not I eaten. I ate is the past simple of eat. So eat, ate, eaten. And you have to be very good with your past simple forms. Can you give me one past form, one regular verb that ends in ed in the past simple, guys?
Studied.
Lovely.
Studied.
Studied. Come again? Very good. Studied. Played. Okay, good. Okay. Can you give me an irregular past simple, irregular, that does not end in ed?
Um,
Excuse me.
mm,
Could you spell? Ah, drank, drank,
drunk.
drank. So drink, drank, drunk. So drank, the past simple, is spelled D-R-A-N-K. It's spelled with an A. Drank, drunk. Drank, drunk. Very different. Very good. One's the past simple, one is the past participle. Good. Can you think of another irregular verb that does not end in ed?
Yeah.
Read. Very good. Sleep.
Slept.
Okay, guys. So we have to know these verbs, these kind of regular and irregular verbs. We've got to be quick with them. Now, irregular verbs have their own forms, as we know, and these forms need to be memorized. So that's your job tonight. You've got to memorize them. You have to study all the forms to be confident for your level. Okay. These are some of the most popular forms, because you might tell me, but Lisa, how can I possibly study all the forms of the past simple in English? There are more than 5,000 verbs in English. Of course, there are more than 20,000 verbs in English. But for your level, okay, which is B1, the most important verbs to know are the verbs that we are going to do in this lesson today. So you have to memorize them. I want you now, for the next few minutes of today's lesson, to mute your microphones, everybody, because we're going to do listening, reading, and repeating. I want you to repeat my sentences at home so that your pronunciation and intonation and confidence with past simple forms is good. Listen. By the way, okay, so let me tell you what, guys, if intonation is something that you're really serious about and you say, my intonation is top priority right now, you can leave your microphone unmuted if you want me to correct you. If you don't want me to correct your pronunciation, you can leave it on mute. I like to give my students an option. Okay, it's up to you. All right. So if you want me to correct you, unmute your mic. Jules lived in Paris last year. Listen again. Jules lived in Paris last year. We attended the meeting yesterday. Listen again. We attended the meeting yesterday.
We attended.
So far, so good. You're copying well, and your intonation's good as well. So that was the first part of some very popular past simple regular verbs, right? Lived, studied. Now we focus on the structure of the past continuous versus the past simple. The table that we're going to look at here shows us how the past continuous is made or constructed. The structure is quite different, of course. Okay, and notice the auxiliary verb. Guys, to be is an auxiliary verb. So from now, if your teachers tell you, please give me the auxiliary verb that we usually use with cry, you have to think of be or have, because those are the two auxiliary verbs in English, be and have. So the auxiliary verb to be is in the past simple, and the past continuous is in the ing. So this is how you make the past continuous. Let's have a look. I want you again to just listen and repeat the sounds, okay? Here we go. Practicing. I was practicing my English. The ing form of the verb and the remainder of the sentence come at the end. Yeah? My students sometimes make mistakes when they want to use the past continuous. They use the gerund form correctly, but they sometimes forget to use the auxiliary verb in the sentence. And that's also wrong because it's not clear. Okay, let's do these. You were giving a presentation.
You were giving a presentation.
He was standing in the hallway.
He was standing in the hallway.
We were talking to our boss.
We were talking to our boss.
You were driving down the road.
You were driving down the road.
You were driving down the road.
You were driving.
There's also a certain rhythm to sounding natural as well. Participating, listen. They were participating in a meeting.
They were participating in the meeting.
Very good. In a meeting. So they were participating in a meeting. Okay. Now, of course, very good. You have to practice them as well. Now, today, as we looked at the past continuous here, we only looked at the construction. We didn't look at how we're using it. So please be careful. Do understand that practicing your English, practicing is an action that is happening together in conjunction with another verb at the same time. That's why we're using the past continuous. And the same with giving, standing, talking, driving, and participating. We're using the continuous because they're happening at the same time as something else. You cannot use them alone without a context. Transform the past continuous sentences into past simple. Okay, let's try focusing on form. We're not focusing on naturality or when we should use it. We're just focusing on form and structure. Okay, so if we say Julie was writing a report, then if you wanted to turn it into the past simple, wrote is the answer. Okay, so now you've got to remember your past simple forms. I'm going to choose one participant from the class and you'll give us the answer. Thank you very much. We start with Anna.
Wilfred made a cup of coffee.
Right. And let's have a look. So, pretty standard. Thank you. Let's go to Jasper. Please repeat that. Aha. Do did done. Do did done. So you did. Excellent. Pretty standard. Let's go to 4. Brian.
Okay. I organized a business trip.
Lovely. And for pronunciation, organized.
Organized. Okay.
Very good. A trip. Good. Very pretty standard. Let's go to Anna. 5.
Okay. We worked from home.
Very good. And again, quite standard, isn't it? So I think we've done quite well here. So here we're just focusing on whether we can use the form correctly when we're writing and we're speaking. But we haven't come to using it naturally or using it in context yet. Okay, now let's go on to the more difficult question. How do we use the past continuous with the past simple together in a sentence? This is the only time we can use the past continuous. As we said, if you have another past simple action interrupting the same action. So 2 things happening simultaneously in conjunction. You will learn these words simultaneously, conjunction. These are happening at the same time. The table here shows the structure of the past continuous when it is used together with the past simple. And again, it's a reminder, you cannot use the past continuous in isolation. It's like bread and butter, they go together. The subject is always used in the past continuous, followed by one and only auxiliary verb, the verb to be. Okay, followed by the one and only gerund form. You can never use the ed, okay? And with the past simple in the same sentence. So now we're going to practice these, and I would like Anna to read these 3 sentences for us, please.
Okay. I was working when you came to my desk. He was eating when the phone rang. They were already sitting in the room before the meeting started.
All right. So why did we use, and this is my next question to everybody, guys, because this is the hardest thing for my B1 students to answer. Why did we use the past continuous here? Why is it necessary for the speaker or for the writer of these 3 sentences to use the past continuous and not the past simple? What evidence do we have that we need to use the past continuous? We have evidence. There is plenty of evidence to show. Read the sentences again and tell me why it is clear or it is obvious that we must use the past continuous in these sentences. So are you saying that one action finished and one action didn't finish? Is that why we're using the past continuous? Both of them were continuing. That's the question. This is why it's very difficult for my students to understand why we cannot use the past simple here and why we can only use the past continuous here. The answer is not that. Sorry. Let's ask somebody else if they can try again. Have a try. You don't lose anything. I'll just tell you it's right or it's wrong. That's right. But I told you why before. I gave you all the reasons today. So you should already have a big, big clue. There are 3 big clues in these 3 sentences. It's language. It's not time. It's not duration. It's language. The language used in these 3 sentences will tell you that you need to use the past continuous. Why? I'm going to underline the important words. Okay. Now, before is a bit confusing because you can also use the past perfect with before, the past perfect form, like I had visited Greece before I visited my uncle. So before is a word that we also use with the past perfect tense. So it can be confusing. But the reason we use the past continuous in these sentences here is because we have the word when and already. And remember, before I told you when and while are important words for you to know today because we'll be using them a lot with the past continuous. And I was not lying, guys. It is true. It is a fact. When you have the word when and while, you cannot use the past simple if you want, because why? Logically, while and when both mean the same thing. You're doing something at the same time as something else. So it's impossible to use the past simple. Okay, already is a very similar word. Now you might say, wait a minute. In elementary, our English teachers taught us that we have to use already with the present perfect only. Yeah, it's used with the present perfect also. But in the future, you also get to know, as you go from one English level to another, that you will start using different words for the same words for different verb forms as well. So be careful with that. Already, when and while can be used like this. He was eating when. They were already sitting before the meeting started. That means they happened at the same time. And I'm going to write it here. Simultaneous actions. That means they happen together, and together is a very, 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 very important word here. Okay, you will never see the past continuous verb used alone. You will always see it with a past simple. Okay, the difference between them is that you will, and you can see the past simple used alone, but not the past continuous. Okay, so let's go to the past continuous. Let's read and listen. Here are some more rules. The past continuous is used when we want to talk about something that was happening at a particular moment in the past, right? This is exactly what we said before. So it's a fact, and you have to remember it. The past continuous sentences often include the past simple tense. Yes, it means two together. The past simple describes the action, while the past continuous describes the longer activity. What? And this is the most important thing you will learn today about the past continuous. This is why we use two verbs in the sentence with the past continuous. We use two verbs because one, read it again, one action describes, the past simple action describes the main action, but the past continuous one describes the longer activity. So I was writing a letter while he shouted, "Hey!" Which one is longer, him shouting or me writing a letter? In this case, yes, the writing a letter is the longer action. There is longer duration. So that's why we say, I was writing a letter while he shouted. Okay, the past continuous will describe the longer activity. The past simple describes the main ordinary action. Remember that. Now, often the past simple action will be part of the sentence that, bang, interrupts the action that's described in the past continuous tense. And this word I used before as well. Do you remember I used it interrupts? One action interrupts the other. And now let's see if it's true. Listen and repeat. I was just opening the door when the cat leapt on the mouse. Listen again. I was just opening the door when the cat leapt on the mouse.
I was just opening the door when the cat leapt on the mouse.
Perfect. You have copied the pronunciation and intonation. Very good. So L-E-A-P-T is leapt, which is the past simple of to leap. I leap, present, past simple, I leapt. To leap means to jump very quickly in forwards direction. I was just opening the door. Okay. We have two actions, confirmed. Which one is the longer action, guys?
The cat leapt.
Bingo. Okay, so leapt is really just an action that happens within a few seconds. You know, it happens so quickly, nobody cares, nobody notices. So that is important. So in this sentence, the past continuous describes what was happening in the background. Very, very important. That means opening the door was the action that happened in the background. But the main action happened. The cat leapt on the mouse. This was actually the most important sentence. The past simple sentence, the past simple verb is actually the most important verb. Opening the door is just a background activity. So the background activities are in the ing. The main activities, past simple.
Oh.
So that's it, basically. That's the secret. You know, I mean, let's have another look at a similar sentence to see if it's true. Listen. The cat was leaping on the mouse when David opened the door. Try that. Okay, in this case, look at the difference between this sentence and this sentence. We changed the verb. So instead of I, we're now saying the cat. Okay, so the cat is the different subject. I is the subject here, the cat is the subject here. So if you change the subject, you change the construction of the sentence. The cat
Yeah.
was leaping, right? I was just opening the door. Look at that. Look at that. It's just flipped. The
Yeah,
cat was
changed it.
leaping, right? The verb position opened. Now, which is the main activity, guys, in this sentence?
Leaping.
Which is the main
Leaping.
activity?
The cat was sleeping is the main action.
Main.
Yeah.
Okay, look at that. Actually, opened the door is the main action that the writer wants to stress in this case. So, because it's past simple. So past simple is always the main verb and the continuous is always the background one. And you see, so the focus of this sentence is different. It was a little bit of a test.
Oh.
Yeah. Because you invert everything, you invert the meaning. So the original meaning is not the same. The focus of the sentence is different. The main action in this sentence is that David opening the door is the main action. And that's why the main action is in the past simple, always.
Okay.
Excellent. So it doesn't matter what you think is or what we think is the main action. It's what the writer tells us. The writer or the speaker will use appropriate grammar to tell us what is happening and what the most important things are and what the background events are. So that's why reading is very, very, very important. But let's read some more examples of the past continuous. I'm going to ask different people to read different sentences. Are you ready? My first person is Jasper. Brian.
John was eating an apple while we talked.
Lovely. Anna.
Was working on my computer when the power went off.
Excellent. Jasper. Right. Fantastic. And Brian.
In 2014, I was working at a different company.
Lovely. And Anna.
At 8 p.m. last night, I was working overtime.
Brilliant. What's that, please? Could you repeat that? Downloading. Fantastic. Well, Brian read this. No, you read this, right?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, I would like Anna to explain downloading.
Okay, when you're trying to put new software in your computer to, I know, maybe launch also can be a suitable word.
Yeah. Perfect. Because you launch software, guys. Did you know? Jasper? Oh, sorry. Okay, listen, I'm going to first put the stress, right? The stress is important in a word because the stress will tell you what you should be putting most emphasis on your voice. Downloading. Down. Yeah, exactly. So pronunciation, downloading, and intonation, downloading. Correct. Up and down, right? And load. I think what a lot of my students find difficult is the O sound, okay, in phonetics. Oh, but in phonetics, O, that's phonetics. If you learned phonetics in English at school, then that's an O sound. That's O. O-A in English is always pronounced O. And O in English can be pronounced in a multitude of ways. So it's very confusing. It's not downloading, it's downloading. So in this case, It's ow. Okay. So very good, guys. Are you ready for some sentences? Let's do it. Right. So complete the sentences using a past continuous construction. Past continuous only. For instance, I listen today becomes I was listening to the radio when my sister came into the room. Okay. So we have one verb here, we've got the verb here. As you can see, we need to use the past continuous, but can we get it right? Okay, so we can start with number one. Brian, go.
Yes. John was walking home when he received a phone call.
Fantastic. Brian, please choose somebody else from our list. Choose any participant you want from our class.
Sorry?
Can you please choose any participant or any student you want from our class?
Okay. Jasper, number 2.
Brilliant. Go. Thank you. Please choose somebody else. Thank you.
At 8 a.m., Jane was driving to work.
Bingo. And somebody else.
Brian,
Mm-hmm.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They was having a meeting when she walked into the room.
Oh, thank you. Anna, please correct that.
they were having.
Okay.
They were. Sorry.
Yeah. Our first instinct when we think quickly is to put everything in the simple. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's true. Thank you very much. Lovely. Choose somebody else.
Jasper.
Thanks. Lovely. You did quite well, guys. So form is okay. Now let's talk about function. Function allows us to be able to categorize words and allows us to use the grammar correctly and accurately and appropriately. So let's categorize the phrase according to their past continuous and past simple forms. You must be quick to associate. Jasper, give me, I was cleaning my shoes. Please categorize this. Brilliant. And Anna, when Tom was getting a haircut.
So past continuous.
Excellent. Brian, I was driving to work.
Past continuous.
Okay. And Jasper, I met Sally. Okay. And Anna, when something tapped on the window.
Past simple.
Bingo. And Brian, he decided to quit his job.
Past simple.
Yes. And Jasper, I was eating my lunch. Sorry? No, just categorize, don't worry. Yeah. There you go. It's past continuous. I was eating. Thank you. And finally, that's it. I think we did very good, very well, except for one. While I was living abroad, Brian.
While I was living abroad. Past continuous.
Yes, correct. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to, now that we've identified them, we're going to try to make sentences with the past continuous with these different sentence parts, join them together to make it be logical. So now I'm going to call another name, and when I call your name, please join this sentence and continue it with another part of the sentence given here on the same page. Let's start with Brian.
Okay. With this one?
Yes, please continue the sentence appropriately.
I was eating my lunch when
Sorry,
I met
this one.
Sally.
This one. Can you? Okay.
Ah,
Mhm.
okay. I met Sally mm, when Tom was getting a haircut.
Beautiful.
A haircut.
Isn't that the beginning of a love story? You could probably write a Hollywood script about that. Yes. Well done. Brilliant. Excellent. Brian, can you choose a different person and that person will say another one?
The same. Okay, Anna, please.
Anna. Very good. And Brian, can you choose a sentence half for Anna?
Okay.
One of these
Yes,
at the top.
I was driving to work.
Thank you.
I was driving to work when something tapped on the window.
Hey, that's a good one. That's the beginning, not of a romance novel, Anna. That's the beginning of a horror movie, I think. Perhaps. Wouldn't you agree? That's the perfect beginning. Do you read a lot, Anna, in English?
Economist?
Oh no. That's unfortunately that's not the same thing as reading stories. Have you ever read a story in English? Not watched a film, but read an actual narrative.
When I just started to study English, I had a lot of books like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 levels.
Uh-huh.
Then it was not too easy, but it was okay for me. And I don't know what can I read next, because in the bookshop I have or woman romance, or I have maybe something for children. So I don't know what.
You don't have much choice, right? But thank God you have teachers on Lingoda to give you good advice for adults. And you can read classics by American classics and British contemporary classics as well. So now you have more options, guys, because I usually give advice and I link my students to different books that you can now buy from the internet. You can buy them online and they come with CD-ROM, a really good idea. And if you've never read a horror book in English, I suggest everybody does, because this is how a horror movie starts. I was driving to work when something tapped on the window. So, you know, even without having probably read a book, you would instantly know this is the beginning of a horror movie. It's typical Hollywood. It's we have typical expressions in English. You know, a lot of people have trouble understanding English humor, for instance, because they only read newspapers and they don't read books. So it's a good thing to diversify. I always tell my students, guys, diversify. Very nice. Brian.
Yes.
Sorry, not Brian, Jasper. I'm going to ask you this. Very good. So here, what genre would you say this was if you were a writer and you were writing a narrative? What kind of narrative? We don't use the word story in English. We use the word narrative. What kind of narrative would this be? Would it be a romance? Would it be a thriller? Would it be many genres? Okay, so it might be drama. We call it a drama in that case. Okay. A drama and a thriller and horror are completely different. They're 4 different genres, which a lot of my students don't know. They only know 3 or 4 genres and they translate. We have specific ones. Very nice. Okay, and well, let's do one more. And Brian, let's get creative.
Yeah.
This is the last part.
Yeah, he decided to quit his job while I was living abroad.
Okay, very good. So while I was living abroad, there you go. Can you do the opposite, Brian? Would it be possible to turn them around?
Different, maybe while I was
Flip
living
them.
abroad, he decided to quit his job. Okay. Yeah, make
It is
sense.
possible to flip. Yeah, both of them.
Yeah.
Both of them make sense. It depends on you as a writer, as a speaker. You need to have more experience with writing and with speaking with the past continuous and the past simple to understand what you need to say, because the sentences, when you flip them, they are not exactly the same. They lose the meaning, right? We remember why. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, guys, it depends on you. You're the writer, you're the speaker, you're in control of the meaning. But when you're reading a book, when you're reading an English book, okay, you will not see this you will not find the past continuous if you read The Economist, okay? If you read The Guardian, if you read newspapers will not use the past continuous, okay? Why? Because they're not narratives. These are the narrative tenses. So do read books to be able to see the differences, because a lot of my students get them confused in tests.
Okay.
So negative forms, now you have to be able to form the negative, and you need to read this at home. The negative form is used by the subject, auxiliary verb, not, and then the ing. You cannot change the position of these words. So remember that was not is possible to say wasn't. Okay, and in the plural, were not can contract to weren't. Listen, weren't. And in American, weren't. It's one syllable. It's not weren't. Weren't. Very nice. I wasn't working when you came to my desk. When? Past continuous. He was not eating when the phone rang. When? Past continuous. Always negative. They were not sitting in the room before the meeting started. So a lot of my students also have problems forming the negative forms. Okay, so please do read again and practice your writing sentences with the past continuous and past simple. You will find them more in reading stories. You can listen to podcasts of narrative stories, and you will also listen to them in podcasts. But if you listen to them in business podcasts, then business podcasts won't use the past continuous because it's not a narrative. Guys, I have to leave you for today because I've got another lesson. Have a great day, practice writing, and see you later.
Thank you.
Welcome. Take care.
Nice to meet you.
See ya.